Keith Whitfield.
And you are?
I'm the president of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
How does that feel so far?
Huge shoes, absolutely exciting. It's so funny, people think because you're starting during a pandemic that it must just be the worst time. But there's always challenges in higher ed. So it is a tough time, but it's still a very exciting time, and there's opportunities to be had too if we keep our focus right.
So in the short amount of time you've been here, you talk about the challenges in higher education. What are the challenges at UNLV that you see so far?
So there's a few, and I'd say I'd be very careful because I don't know everything here. This is still the learning phase of my indoctrination into UNLV. And I think that, of course, one of them is our financial situation. We are having to figure out a way to make a dollar out of 15 cents, and we're doing a very good job of it. But it's one of those things where when you want to try to progress, money's not everything, but it's not nothing either, and it's important. The other piece of it, I think, that goes along with COVID is just the safety of our faculty and staff. Actually, faculty, staff, and students. Actually, that's the very first thing that we make every decision based on, is about the safety of people. And so trying to make sure that we're doing everything to make sure everyone's safe is a big challenge.
Getting back to the funding issue, obviously that's an issue for everyone, whether it's education or not, but specific to UNLV, what can, and then maybe you can answer this, what can UNLV do at this point? What can administration do and to the Board of Regents to get more money? Can you raise tuition, even though there aren't a whole lot of students on campus? What other trees can you shake?
Well, you came out of the box with the one that we don't want to try to do, which is that we want to make education affordable. UNLV actually does a very good job with that. We want to keep that. So there are trees to be shook. We have a wonderful community that supported this university in very good times, and we're going to need to ask them for some support during these more challenging times. I think the other piece of it is trying to find efficiencies. We also want to grow our student population just a bit, and bringing in more tuition helps to cover some of the costs that it costs to run a university. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
When you talk about efficiencies, are you implying while adding students, trimming staff?
Nah, not so much trimming staff, but seeing if we can figure out ways where if rather than we want to grow a program, we don't need to get 5 new faculty. Maybe we can find faculty that we already have here that can be able to do things, 2 things rather than 1. That's one of the ways through efficiencies. It's so fascinating. In tough times, it's one of the times, we should do it all the time, but it's one of the times when you take a close look at yourself and say, how are we really doing? Is this the best way to do it? Is this the best practice for doing things? And that's what we've been doing constantly, basically in every area, is saying, what can we do without, just for, at least for now, and how can we make sure that we keep everything rolling along by working together on things?
What is UNLV's place right now, from your vantage point, in Las Vegas? What is its relevance? What is its importance? What weight does UNLV have right now, do you think, in the city?
Well, it's so interesting. I actually went to a reception last night that was hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, and to hear how much of fans that they were of us, and that we are, of course, of them, and talking to different people from the community, you see that it's held in high regard. We want to do everything every day to actually deserve that respect and that regard as well. And so one of the things that I've been talking about, everybody's pushing me to make a vision, and the vision that I have is going to come from a shared vision that's constructed off of talking with people and talking both about the history and the present and the future that people are thinking of.
Have you heard anything so far that's stood out in the short amount of time you've been here?
I think a little bit about the north-south distinction sticks out as something that's interestingly artificial. Actually, as you may well know, yesterday UNR picked their brand new president, Brian Sandoval, and we've already had a conversation through text. I think he must have been absolutely overwhelmed with people congratulating him. But we've already talked about how let's see what kind of opportunities there may be for us to collaborate on things. So this is another one of those efficiencies where we can, they're a great school, we're a great school. We do some things the same, but we do other things that are unique to our schools. And so what are the things that maybe that we share that we can work together and make them even better opportunities for the citizens of Nevada?
By my count, there have been 5 presidents here in 10 years, which is a lot of turnover. How important do you believe stability is in the position of president for UNLV right now?
It's very important. The time that we live in now is not going to end. It's going to stretch out. Even if we get a vaccine, the effect is going to have some time. So we've got to get through that, and then we've got to plot this new course that's going to be, because we're going to be a new normal. So having somebody to be able to stay here and stay in the helm of the president, I think, is very important. I find it so fascinating because just the fact that you raised of that, there's been some turnover, and they're like, well, please stay. And I'm like, look, you're the one talking about going. I'm talking about staying. I've got a long-term view of what I think about this place. I absolutely love it here. This is not just, playing to the camera. I'm a mountain guy. I spent a lot of time in Colorado. And so looking at the vistas that we have here, every day driving to work is just beautiful. I don't know if people pay attention to when you drive down 215 of just seeing the beautiful mountain ranges. The heat and the dry heat, I will get used to. But I can tell you, coming from Detroit, when it comes to November and December and January, I think I'll be quite happy with the temperature. But also, I think the potential that this school has. It's not something that is going to be able to be completely realized in a year or in 2 years or whatever. It's going to take some time. And I think that the school will always have my commitment. And I think the commitment by our faculty and our students to be able to do the right things. We're going to continue to just do more great things.
There is a history of turnover at the president's office here and the relationship with the Board of Regents, trying to keep those lines of communication open and making sure they're happy. What do you want to try and do?
Make sure that I talk to them. Make sure that we share some of the great things that we're thinking about doing. And some of that even is talking to them because, UNLV sits in part of a system. And we want to make sure that, we are this unique, wonderful part of that system, and that we play as a system. I mean, there's things that we need to do because we're UNLV. But there are things that we want to do to make sure that, CSN and some of those other schools that we partner with and collaborate with on things. And so the regents can serve as a conduit for that. I think, every board meeting we have these group conversations about things. And just making sure that I'm clear. I'm sure that there'll be times when we may disagree. But I think that as long as we understand that we're all trying to get to the same goal, which is to make a great UNLV, make a great place for education for the citizens of Las Vegas, for the citizens of Nevada. I don't think that there'll be as many. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't telegraph myself and say that I'm perfect in any stretch of the imagination, but I have great respect for them. They are what you said, my bosses. And, my job is to have them see UNLV be the great place that I know that it is.
Just 2 more questions. And you were talking about, ways to try and help with the financial situation, adding students potentially, broadening the tuition base. Before the pandemic and before you came on board, there was talk of expansion. There's efforts to try and develop some of the parts, UNLV aside, along Maryland Parkway and make it more of a campus. Is this still a time for UNLV to grow, or is it more of a kind of hold on to what you've got right now?
That's a wonderful question. We have a master plan. We're actually revisiting it because things have changed since when we did it, and trying to figure out what might be the best way to go about dealing with some of those real estate issues, because those are things where, as we look at being very financially constrained, that might offer some opportunities for us. And not even opportunities just to yield dollars, but actually to make collaborations and develop this part of the city. So we're not going to rush into anything. I think that I have this incredible team that I work with that are getting me up to speed and talking about all the considerations. And once you get past just learning what's there, then you start making some decisions strategically about what you think you might want to do with them. And our one of our goals is to keep to remain a Research One institution, and to even grow as a Research One institution. And so that's going to be one of the drivers, but also to have a great campus for our students. And so once you balance out those two things, those are going to be some of the things that will undergird some of those decisions that we make.
Right before you came here, the result there we right before you came here, the Hey Reb statue was taken down. And I've had some conversations with some professors on campus, some efforts, some of the Black Lives Matter organizers in town, and there seems to be there was discussion even with former President Miana about changing the name. Is that something you're interested in?
So, of all of the many difficult issues and decisions, that's one of the real difficult ones. I'll be honest with you. The rebel piece of it, I don't necessarily see as big of an issue with. The symbol that's behind it, I think that's what people have had a bigger issue with. I will say I struggle with the rebel piece of it because I've been called a rebel. That, I didn't go where everybody thought that I should go. I kind of took the less traveled road. But I think it's what does it mean to be a rebel, and what does the word rebel kind of mean? That's one thing, and then the symbol that we have, I think, is another. And I think that's even as we look at the past, because I have been shown some of the information about the past that's been researched, and some concerns that have been raised. This is not a new issue for this university. I think we've been trying to figure out that symbol that best fits us as rebels for a long time. So one of the things I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks is actually doing a listening tour where I go out and talk to people and hopefully talk to some of the same people that you've talked to, and listen and hear about their perspective and talk about it so that we can try to craft a way forward, because we need to have one that is inclusive, that really tries to both respect our heritage but at the same time accurately depict who we are as a university.
So just to read between the lines, it's not you're not necessarily opposed to keeping the rebel name. It's just trying to rebrand what it means or where it comes from.
Well, the symbol of the rebel and our moniker of rebel are they're related, but they're two different things. And I think it's been the symbol that when I've heard people have not liked what they believe the symbol represents. I've heard far less people have a problem with being a rebel as they have been with the actual symbol. And that's what we're going to have a conversation about. It's going to be, kind of no holds barred, and let's hear what people have to say, and let's have a discussion about it, because, symbols, it's funny because the rebel name is a symbol too, but symbols, that's perception of what things actually are. And we need to be the ones who are defining it. Our community needs to be the ones defining it. So it's going to be faculty and staff and students and community members and alumni all sitting down sharing with me what they think about it. So and then try to have a collective solution on the other side of it. But it's not going to be a quick decision. It's going to be something where I really want to feel like I'm informed, and then talk to people before we take any action